about the Annotated Bibliography project. And this is going to be starting early in the course and then be ongoing throughout the course, and it's not due until later. But it's something that we're going to start now and then continue to build on week after week. An annotated bibliography is a common academic genre and something that you might be using in the future when you are thinking about research projects. So let's talk about what is an annotated bibliography. This is just a list of sources, but it's more than just a works cited page. You also add information about each source in the list of sources. So each entry in an annotated bibliography has a summary of that source on the list, some kind of an evaluation of that source, so it's more than just a standard summary, and then some thoughts about how useful or how you would incorporate the use of this source in your project. So think about the word annotation just means adding notes. So bibliography having notes added to it. It's a way to get your sources organized, you're gathering sources that you need, and then you're thinking about how you're going to be able to use those sources. Also, this is going to help you in one of the future writing assignments in this class, which is the proposal. Once you have this started, your proposal will be easier to write. So for each entry in an annotated bibliography, you have those three components that we mentioned on the previous slide. So the summary is first, and this is, think about the standard summary that we talked about before. What are the main ideas of this source, information about the context, who wrote the source, its date, etc. Also the evaluation piece, and then how this source can contribute to your research project in some way. So here's just a little bit for ideas of language that you can use when you're writing each of these components. So feel free to use these exact words and phrases as you wish when you write your annotated bibliography entries. So the first section was the summary. So you can say things like, in the article, the author presents this idea. Another main point is, for the evaluation piece, some language you can use. A strength is or a weakness, or you can also talk about the effectiveness or the ineffectiveness of the article, the source. And then finally, the last part is the usefulness piece. And here, some language you can use. In my project, this source will be useful in, however you think it would be useful. And you could also say this article will help with, and again, you're applying the ideas or the concepts in that source to what you're thinking for your research project.
So I want to take you through an example annotation, and this one is actually from the Purdue OWL, which is a useful resource. They've broken it into two parts, and they don't have the third part, but it is still useful for looking at citation at the top, space down, and then this is the summary. Okay, so in this book of nonfiction, right, and the author's name is Barbara Ehrenreich, and you're going to get what happens in the book, okay, and then you're going to get this evaluation. There's a space here that's just the Purdue OWL trying to be helpful, so you don't actually have multiple paragraphs. You just have one paragraph for your annotation. And the key here that we kind of want you to take away from the example is these sort of things that happen in the beginning of the sentence, right? So that indicate that this is their summary going on, okay? You can even say something like, the author summarizes, right? So you're indicating sort of what the author is doing and talking about it that way. And then down here, as an experienced journalist, she's aware of the limitations of her experiment, so she knows what she's doing. This is a possible limitation, but it ends up not being a bad thing because she's aware of it and she's able to counteract it. Okay, so this is where you're going to get into analysis and go into the details about what's good and what's bad or what's effective and ineffective in the piece. this all boils down to you have a writing assignment, okay? So this is going to happen in week 5, okay? So you're going to be collecting all of these and then turn them in week 5. The annotated bibliography project that we're imagining is you collecting your resources, figuring out really useful sources, and then you have an opportunity to write about them. The better your annotations are, the more likely you'll be able to use some of that material in your proposal and things like that. So you have 5 sources, a collaborative source that you're going to write in groups, and we'll get to that. Each one of your other 4 sources should be specific to your research question, so these should be really useful sources. You think these are really effective for you. And we're going to do 1 a week, and we really want you to use 1 academic journal. You can use more, but at least 1 academic journal so you can get used to what academic prose looks like for your research.